Welcome to the Good, Bad, and the Ugly, brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Jonathan, aka 3-Piece Combo, and today we're going to kind of start a new series here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. A lot of people in the post-game show, yelling at Royals, saying he's too pessimistic, he's too negative, or they're getting at Ricky and he's saying he's too positive. So what we want to do on this show, we want to kind of take a look at some of the positives of the game, some of the negatives of the game, and the ugly, which might be something like a Bam dunk, something really, really ugly, or something that's just really, really horrible, like kind of a little bit what happened yesterday in the second half, which we'll get into a little bit moving forward. But we're going to get a little bit, start off with the good, so anybody who's an optimist can start off by feeling a little bit good. So let's get into it. So getting into some of the positives, or we can call him Ricky's because he's always so positive in the post-game show, but getting into some of the positive aspects that we're able to take out of yesterday's game. First thing that I noticed is that we're able to get to the free throw line a lot more consistently. Now, looking at Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, they combined for 31 free throws last night, and I think they made 26 of them. Yeah, 26 of 31, so that's really good. On the season, they're shooting 85 and 86% respectively. So these are two guys that are coming in, your highest volume players, and they're shooting great at the free throw line. So us being able to shoot the free throws is not only good for the offense because it generates more easy points, it's good for the defense because it allows us to get back, set our defense. We're a team that defends as a team. We play a lot of zone, we do a lot of trapping, stuff like that. So if one player is out of rotation, it messes everything up and it makes it harder on everybody. So getting more free throws allows us to not only score better, but defend better as well. Now, transitioning a little bit into one of the other good parts about this game is that we actually have an alpha on this team. We have Jimmy Butler that's able to go down, get his own bucket, and really control the pace of the team. And if you watched the Heat broadcast yesterday, Eric Reed talked about him being likened to a running back. Somebody that you can put your head down and just have him grind away the game and make it hard on the other team to kind of get a flow going. But for us, just really keep a steady pace. So it was really good to see Jimmy come down and control this team, especially coming back from an injury for a couple of games ago. Now he's back. He seems to be catching his flow and leading this team, which is great to see because a couple of years ago we had guys like Dion Waiters or Josh Richardson trying to take the last shot. And we know, except for the one game winner against the Golden State Warriors, how that went. Josh Richardson would throw it out of bounds, or we would get a boneheaded play from Dion Waiters. So it's really, really good to have an alpha like Jimmy Butler that's be able to lead this team when it comes down to close games. Now, getting to those close games, another player that we have to commend a little bit is Tyler Hero, because he came out and he had a rough game yesterday. I think 6 to 15 from shooting from the field, but he was great in the fourth. He had those 7 huge points going into the fourth quarter, and without that last 3 in the last minute, I don't know if we win that game, especially because Jimmy missed that free throw and they intentionally fouled him. So him hitting that 3 with a minute to go, it was off balance, just off the catch coming from Jimmy. He just has so much confidence for such a young player, and at only 20 years old. It's great to see him being able to take the lead in the fourth quarter and at least have that killer instinct and have that mentality. So we might have another alpha coming up, of course, if we don't trade him in the future. But that's all the good points we have from this game. A couple, there's obviously some more, but let's get into a little bit of the bad, because there was a little bit of bad that we had some in this game. So let's get into that. Now, getting into some of the bad things of this game, there was a lot of bad parts about this game. But the first thing I want to take a quick look at is Duncan Robinson, because he's the guy that's supposed to be the key for this offense. And right now, he's not performing like we might want to pay him $15 to $20 million in this upcoming offseason. Last night, 0 of 7, 0 of 5 from deep. And if he's not hitting those three-point shots, he's not getting the gravity drawn towards him and not allowing the rest of the offense to perform like how he wanted to. Duncan Robinson was a big reason we were a top 5 offense last year. And he's not performed to the same level that we're used to him performing. And right now, obviously, he's still an undrafted player with a minimum contract. But coming up next year, he's a guy that we're thinking about paying $15 to $20 million. So this is going to be something that we're going to have to seriously consider moving forward. If Duncan isn't able to return to prime Duncan Robinson and have him hit 6 to 8 threes a game, we got to think about what we want to do with this guy, and if we're going to continue building offense around him, doing the dribble handoffs and doing stuff like that, instead of maybe going into a more pick and roll heavy offense. So we really need to see Duncan Robinson step it up, especially after a couple of games he's having. He's not having the best shooting season, of course, to his reputation, but he still needs to be somebody that steps it up. Second thing we got to look at yesterday was the offense, or the offensive rebounding for the New York Knicks. They had 11 offensive boards. They were just pounding us on the glass, and this is a very, very common theme that's going on right now. I mean, we met Alex Len look like prime Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then last night Nerlens Noel looked like prime Wilt Chamberlain. So we have these guys, all of these random scrub bigs, just going off on us, getting these offensive rebounds, and it might have to be due with Bam's switchability and him switching out to guards or switching out to perimeter players and then leaving nobody inside to get that rebound. And transitioning into another bad point, that our interior defense as a whole has just been really, really bad. We gave up, I have it right here, 36 points in the paint to the Knicks, and they shot 14 of 22, almost 64% by the rim. And for the Heat, we only took nine shots at the rim, shooting 44%. So that's not something we can do, especially consistently moving forward, is giving up all these shots in the rim and giving up these high percentage looks for opposing teams who's having their bigs, no matter who they are, go off against us. We have to be able to limit the opposing team's big men and have some interior presence and have, somebody, Bam, Precious, Chris Silva when he comes back from injury, go and sign Kyle Alexander again. We need him. Somebody needs to come in and step up for this interior defense, because we're not holding down the fort. And if we don't guard the three-point line like we're supposed to, we know we're a horrible three-point line defending team. And if we don't guard the paint like we're supposed to, what are we, a mid-range guarding team? So we need to find an identity defensively. We really need to find out how we're going to start limiting the offensive rebounds and the points in the paint, because that's something that's becoming a real problem, and it can really hurt us down in the future, and especially in the playoffs, because playoffs, each possession is so much bigger. So if we continue to give that up, this is a team that has a limited ceiling moving forward. Now, let's get into the ugly, because it was a really ugly game yesterday, so we're going to move forward into that. So, the ugly. So there wasn't really a really, really good offensive play. So what I wanted to take a look at this ugly session was the ugliness of the second half. We had an absolutely horrible second half with nobody outside of Jimmy and Bam scoring until 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So that means 18 minutes of the second half, we had nobody scoring except Jimmy and Bam. Now, normally that's not a key for success unless you have Kyrie Irving or James Harden being the two guys or something like that. But we're not a team that's heavily reliant on those two guys just to carry the offensive load. Typically, we usually want to spread out the offense a little bit more. So we can't just have these two guys being the only people to score. 31 of 41 in the second half points were scored by Jimmy and Bam. 7 from Tyler Hero in the fourth quarter and a big Kelly Olynyk 3. But we need to get something going offensively, whether it's Duncan Robinson starting to hit more threes and starting to get his gravity again, or Tyler Hero becoming a much more offensive threat, or where he's a little more efficient, obviously. We need to find something that can carry us offensively, because against any other team other than the Knicks, we lose that game yesterday. If Jimmy and Bam are the only two guys scoring against, a Rockets team or a Utah team that we're going to have to play, a Warriors team that we're going to have to play, this isn't something that's going to be sustainable moving forward. So we need to find some help for Jimmy and Bam. Those can't be the only two guys that are doing work offensively and defensively, because those are our two best defensive players as well, and us expect to win too many more games. Thank you for watching the first episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. If you're the pessimist, if you're the optimist, if you're the realist, I hope you enjoy this episode, and I hope you tune into the next one after our game playing the Rockets. I think the Rockets are the next game. So again, thanks for watching The Good and Bad, Ugly, brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Jonathan, and I hope you guys have a great day.